Okay. So let's
So
kind of start with this
yeah,
formally.
so my first attempt, as I started, it was a very unstructured preparation. I had no guidance, like no one to tell me what all things should I study. So for the whole life before that, I have always studied in a group of friends
Mm-hmm.
who know the things, and I also know the thing. But here I was alone studying, so the guidance was not there. So I took on like random books, purchased random books from some people, and took some random questions from GMAT Club. And in 20 to 25 days, I realized that my preparation here is not good enough. So
Mm-hmm.
my father really has like one ideology that you should be that prepared for the exam that any night the examiner, he can wake you up and he can give you that exam at 3 o'clock at night and you should score your best.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the ideology my father always has for anything in life. So
Wow.
I realized I am not at all at that level. So he gave a lot of exam, the IRS and the bank exam. The time he was like, I am prepared. You wake me up at 2 o'clock at night, I'll get that score. So I realized I am not at that level. But at that time, instead of shifting the exam, because I thought if I shift the exam, I'll again get into the rut of my office.
Mm.
I gave that exam. I got 700, and my verbal score was V36, and quant was Q49. So
Okay.
in the first attempt. So I really was expecting something around V40, V41 as an optimum score for
Mm.
the belief I had on my English.
Mm.
But it was a setback at that time.
Okay.
So that setback really, I was disheartened. I was in Hyderabad. My parents were in Ludhiana, and that time I had long pep talks with my father for like 2 to 3 days. And then I talked to a few people. I studied on the forums, and then I made a plan. I took like 10 to 15 days as to like I will take, because I was anyways not going to apply the last year. So
Mm.
I thought that I had ample time at hand, considering I am regular. So then I made out a plan that firstly I'll take a course, an online course with. So I went to GMAT Club, and then I once again I had no guidance from like any senior. So I'm very young in my generation.
That's
All
true.
others are like 7 to 8 years elder than me.
Mm.
So they are so anyone who has prepared for GMAT, they did it in 2012 or 2011. So those people, yeah. So I did not have guidance from them. So I read the reviews, and a few of my seniors in the company, they told me that these are the few courses which are good.
Mm.
So at that time, I opted for e-GMAT. And
So you took that first attempt. You had that 700 V36
yeah,
Q49. What did you know? What areas you needed to work on?
yes. So I'll tell you. So as part of in the ESR which I got for the first one,
Mm.
my sentence correction percentile was 54. And
Okay.
reading comprehension was 72 and critical reasoning was 97.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that firstly I was just focusing on verbal. I knew that I could improve from like Q49 to Q50 with studying for like 10 to 15 days,
Mm-hmm.
because I was really not brushed up on those topics. So I put quant aside for like a month at that time. So this was around September or October time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I focused, I took the e-GMAT course, and I had a time limit at hand, and that in the next 35 to 40 days, I will finish this whole theory course, which is there with the quizzes which are there inside it. So those
Okay.
days were only focused on sentence correction and reading comprehension.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I had some family problems for a month, and I had to, leave the whole preparation for October, full October. And
Mm.
when in November I came back to the preparations, my critical reasoning was the one which was really not giving me any result. It moved
Mm.
back to like 60 percentile. I was overconfident with my critical reasoning,
Mm.
seeing my 97 percentile. So then again, I studied the whole critical reasoning course.
Mm.
And after that, in mid-November, when I started my Scholaranium
Mm. Mm.
tests, which are the ability tests,
Mm.
so they were around 80, 78 to 80 percentile. That is what I was getting. So at that time is when, end of November is when I booked my exam. Uh,
Okay.
my birthday is on 7th of January. I booked my exam on 9th of January.
Okay.
So it was a lot of pressure for me. I don't have to celebrate my birthday. We'll see after 2 days.
Mm.
Everyone was like that
Mm.
only. So
Mm.
the whole December went into all the sectional tests which were there. So I did quant preparation for like 10 to 15 days. I
Mm.
finished the whole Scholaranium by around 15th of December.
Got it.
So from 15th of for and the next I had like 10 days earmarked for my error log. So most of that error log was for sentence correction and reading comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
And the next final 7 days, what I did was I went to GMAT club along with my error log which was there. And so, for example, sentence correction has 25 topics. Critical reasoning has 22, 23 topics, and maths also has like 20, 25 topics. So on each topic, I opened up like 4 or 5 questions, and my computer had like 700 to 800 tabs open.
Wow.
Yep. And at that time, so what my father told me at that time was that if you do each and every question of each type, I'm an engineer, so I need to have that confidence in me. If you do 2 to 3 questions of each and every type, then the person who is making that paper, right, he's also being inspired by those questions, and it will simply be a rotation or a little modification of those questions only.
Mm-hmm.
So by 5th or 6th January, I was giving my tests. I am really afraid of giving full mock tests. I can't really sit. I haven't done those in my IIT preparations also. I was silently giving those, and I was like getting 720, 730 in December. And I got till 7:30, and the next 15 days I stopped giving the exam because I really get disheartened if I get less. So once I had all those tabs finished, my error logs finished by around 5th of January. So I had 1 or 2 ability quizzes also left. I just kept them intentionally. So those reached around 90 percentile at that point. So at that time I
Good.
thought that my English is up to the point now, and maths also. Maths also is up to the point. So I should get around 7:30 to 7:40. So that is the sort of expectation I had because I had seen everyone's stories, and also from 700 to 750 is a big jump. 700 to 730, 740 is like a normal jump if you study for like 2 to 3 months. And so finally I went for the exam. At 7th, 8th, 9th was a chill time. I chilled for like 2 to 3 days. I was only looking at my error log. I did not solve the exam. I solved like 10 to 12 questions only per day from my hand. And those were all maths questions. And yeah,
So I think let's kind of go back. So you had that intensive preparation for your first month, right? And then
yes.
before you took had the 700 attempt, then you
Mm-hmm.
prepared using the e-GMAT course. So what was different in terms of how you approached questions after you went through the e-GMAT
So
course?
the first thing which really helped me in reading comprehension was that I was giving time to the paragraph. And after giving time to and I don't have faced the problem that my paper will not finish on time. Actually, most of the times I'll finish 5 minutes before or 4 minutes
And
before.
which is logical because you're someone who prepared
Yeah.
for IAS. You are from
So no, I tend to rush through things. I tend to rush through things. So that is
but you're a natural speaker. You're a natural. I mean, you read naturally. There's that
yeah,
natural
yeah,
affinity
I read
towards
a lot. So
reading.
yeah, so that's why I tend to rush a lot. So now I spend time on the paragraph, and while reading the paragraph I was making a mental image of what the paragraph is about. And sir, if you do a lot of questions about RC or SC or sentence correction, right, at the back of your mind you will get to know now what this guy is about to ask me a little. You will get a hint of the first question which is there in front of you. Just take that hint and just start. And from those 3 paragraphs, 5 or 6 different questions is what the invigilator or examiner can ask you. So once you do a lot of questions, right? On my part, I did a lot of practice. So if reading comprehension, I would have done around 200 to 250 passages total.
Okay.
So with that, the main title questions or what is being inferred in the second paragraph. So all those questions tend to become clear over time when you do a lot of questions. So that is the same mentality which we used to have in engineering in class 11th and 12th. People would stop like at their like HC Verma, but once you move forward from that and do like 2 more books, you will realize that. So that was the main help which I got in my reading comprehension. And the next was in sentence correction. Firstly, I was like freeballing it all on my common sense for my first attempt because I thought that I have read a lot of books. I write also, so my English will be good only. So my common sense is what will take me forward.
Okay.
But after doing the whole course, right? So there are like 7 or 8 different pointers which build up. So it is very in the start when you start that course, and for the first 2 or 3, the
Modules.
sections which are
The
there,
modules you're talking about,
and yeah,
subject, verb, and all.
yeah. So that modules you think that do I really have to check all these things for a question?
Mm-hmm.
So you really question yourself, and I really questioned the module also at that time. For one sentence correction question, which I have to do for in 1.5 minutes or 1 minute, do I really have to check all these things?
Mm-hmm.
But once you get into that, flow that I have to see the subject verb agreement. These are the common idiom errors which are there, and after comma, this thing should come. Where who should come, where who should come. So these are like 100 or 150 different rules, which once you do a lot of questions, right? So these rules were really stressed upon. When I was not doing this course and when I was just reading the books, right, then it was just 1 point in the whole 50 points.
Mm-hmm.
But here, when the same rule was applied in 50 different examples, right, that is when it gets imprinted in your subconscious mind. That is what I thought. So, without even thinking that these are the 8 pointers which I should apply to 8 or 7 pointers I should apply to a question, those were getting automatically applied as part of my thinking. So, by doing the course, it slowly over a month, giving it time to absorb. That is what changed me. And even if now I approach a sentence correction question, I don't need to memorize the idioms. I know that these are, if this word is there, this problem or this mistake can occur,
Mm-hmm.
and that is when 70% of the questions are solved, and the next 30% questions which are there. So those 70% will be solved in like 30 to 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the next 30% question where you reach like your third or fourth difficult question, right, and the difficulty goes up in a section, so
Mm-hmm.
that is where you have that luxury of 2 minutes, and you have the luxury of remembering what all mistakes can be there in a. So if a question has a comma, if a question has a semicolon,
Mm-hmm.
so what all mistakes can be there? If it is a list and is there and comma as well is there, so what all mistakes can be there? So there is the superset of the mistakes. Considering the GMAT as the exam, it can be tamed. That is
Mm-hmm.
what I think. Yep.
So tell me one thing. I mean, you're someone who's very strong on the verbal side of things, or more specifically, let's call
Not
it English.
really strong.
No, I mean, you're someone who writes. You're someone
Yep.
who's from what we call as a convent educated background.
Yep.
You're well spoken. I didn't look at your resume, but I'm sure you probably had some good a few extracurriculars growing up as well.
Yep.
So when you went through the course that starts from
Mhm.
the very basics,
Yes.
what kind of made you, and you did a good amount of it. I mean, you did about 71% of the course, and then you scored really well on the concept and application files and
Mhm.
practice quizzes. So I mean, there must have been things that you already knew, right?
Yes.
So how did you push yourself through them to really say, man, I know this, but I still need to do this?
Yep. So that at every point of time before starting every module, I had preconceived notions in my mind
Hmm.
that this is how this thing is. This is how I
Give
think
me an
about it.
example.
For example, in the case of idioms, uh, the way GMAT, questions ask you questions. Those are the some of those idioms are not which you will use in your normal conversational English.
Hmm.
So normal conversation English, as in, so there will be some other form of the idiom which will be widely accepted,
Hmm.
but that will not be correct in the correct in the exam manner of the exam.
Hmm.
So those were a few things which because I took every video properly, I saw every video properly, and I gave time to absorb. So with that, those corner cases, right, which were not there or which
Hmm.
I did not, I would have overlooked actually. So because each video was slow and you don't give the option to do 1.25x or 1.5x,
Hmm.
5x, we as engineers, we really love that, but that was not there and that should not be there.
Hmm.
You realize that after the whole course.
Hmm.
So those things tend to question you that this was my earlier thinking of the concept, but this is correct, even if I might have used it for 25 years, but this is the way it is supposed to be.
Got
So
it.
that is what really helped me. I don't
So,
remember exact examples because
so I
I've
think
been.
that's fine. That's fine. So I think let me
Yeah.
ask one last question before we move on to your MBA piece, because I really have a hard stop at in 8 minutes. Um,
Mhm.
how did you use data from the system? You talked about ability quizzes, but other than that, as you were doing the concept quizzes, the application quizzes, did you use that feedback?
Yes. So uh, uh, I had this thing in mind that if I'm doing a question set of 30 questions,
Hmm.
after about a month of preparation or 1.5 months of preparation, even if I do that in e-GMAT or anywhere else, I have to score more than 25 to 26 questions in that. Yeah. So, and if I'm not scoring that, then I'll be going back to the theory.
Mm-hmm.
And when I am doing that theory, I made sure the questions which were there with the theory, right, which I've
Mm-hmm.
already attempted. I did not attempt those questions again. I just saw their whole application.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have already done that video, I have already seen that video, I've seen its application in the question,
Mm-hmm.
but still there is something unclear in my mind. So I was again seeing the whole thing again, the step-by-step process of how that question was solved, and that is where mostly it would correspond to that only. If I am
Excuse me. Yes.
and I'll come back here, my ability quizzes or the quizzes which are there in the module, right? My
Mhm.
percentage of score there will be less only. So that is where data really helps me.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about your MBA now. So, what what do you want to achieve? Thing at a very high level.
So uh, I'm not completely sure if I'll be applying this year or the next year. So
Mhm.
this time I had like ample time at hand where I, had time to give my GMAT and a score which is valid for like 5 years.
Mhm.
And from the past 2 to 3 years, I've been observing the role of a product manager in a tech company where actually I work.
Mhm.
So I have been seeing what their roles are, and what I think is that if you are not 100% hardcore techie, right, who's completely into coding, so apart from that, you will transition into that role in about 6 to 7 years in a
Mhm.
normal tech company. That is the situation which I have in India. That is the things which I have exposure
Mhm.
to. So if I am doing, I'll be doing this role which I am in, and after 7 to 8 years, I'll be transitioning into a product management role. Naturally, I'll be transitioning into that role. Instead
Mhm.
of that, if I do an MBA from a reputed college like a top 15 to top 20
Mhm.
college, and then give a boost and get the best product management job which is there, right? Which which the world, which like a company has to
Mhm.
offer,
Mhm.
then it really gives me a boost into what I see myself in the future, like 10 years.
So product
So
management, and then
yeah,
director of product and other things.
yes.
Got it.
So I don't want to divert from this technical background or the technical studies which I have, but
Mhm.
I really want to use it at a higher level where I'll be managing products and I'll be talking to customers
Good.
and
Good.
yeah,
So you want to be a tech product manager, and then in
yes,
that. Okay. So I think there are plenty of good schools out there. Uh,
yes.
uh, have you looked at any?
I am in the process.
Mhm.
So that is like I have the next 1 or 2 months to look into that. So right now I'm talking to different people who have already done their MBAs, and
Mhm.
actually I need help in this process to finalize the schools, which schools have better, courses or reputed courses in product management specifically.
So I mean, it's product management is not a course. I will tell you. I mean, it is a course, yes, but just product management is not a course. Um, having been a product manager myself in the past, a product manager, in many ways, is like a business owner. Especially
Mhm.
the I mean, product management as a function has been abused quite a bit. There's now called a technical product manager, and then there's a
Mhm.
customer product manager piece that happens, which I mean, I don't buy into it. For
Okay.
me, a product manager is in some ways a mini business owner who works with the sales and team to understand what customer needs are, who then works with engineering, who probably has a program manager to really help build those features, who also
Yep.
works with marketing to make sure that the benefits are communicated properly, and who works with support to make sure that you know the the solutions that customer make using those features are appropriate solutions. So for me, that product manager is that multifaceted person, and for a product manager, to be a good product manager, there has to be an appropriate understanding of marketing, an appropriate understanding of customer needs, an appropriate understanding of how people build solutions. So the networks that exist along with it. Many a time, the product manager also has to build partnerships along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at good product management schools, I am looking at, and for you, the domain's very specific, which is I mean, a product management in FMCG domain is very different from a product management in tech,
Yep.
because the kind of partnerships you build are very different. So I mean, MIT, for example, UC Berkeley, they specialize in more on the tech side of things. UCLA Anderson is another school that does that very, very well. At the same time, if you think about Kellogg as a school, it focuses a lot on the customer needs side of things. And so not everything is something that a school should provide. I mean, you have a very strong technical background. So for you, what makes sense is what is the primary gap that you're trying to fulfill. And so that primary gap that you're trying to fulfill is, okay, how do I understand customer needs? Then Kellogg's a great fit, right? If on the other hand, the primary gap that you're trying to fulfill is, ma'am, I'm not as great a leader. I understand what needs to be done, but I can't bring that many people along with me. I can't convince people to put in their 100%. Then leadership schools start to become more interesting, I think, and that's where this is more personalized for you. But if you look at more well-rounded product management schools, these are three schools that I know of. I'm sure. I mean, we have a e-GMAT knowledge base. If you Google e-GMAT plus product management schools, you'll see their rankings, which our team has compiled. So and you can
So
see the
yeah,
gist of it.
I'm in the process of looking at it. So see if I'm applying what I think in terms of product management. I completely agree with what you say. So if I am going to apply into a school which is like a top 10 or a top 15 school, so if a school really specializes in management, will they be looking at what all specializes in leadership, for example? So will they be looking at leadership or things which I have done in my college or in my job profile? For example, I have like 3 years of experience now. So at this point, the leadership of
Excuse
which
me.
I would have got as part of my organization would not be at a very big scale. I
That
like,
doesn't matter.
yeah, okay.
So I mean, I will cut you short over here. We probably can resume this sometime next week. I have to
No
really go,
problem.
but Google. I'm gonna give you one link before I leave. Uh,
Okay.
uh, let me see if I can find. Yeah, I think I can. Take a look at this article, and it's gonna come in the chat window over here.
Yep.
Click on it, read it, and you're gonna see some interesting examples here.
Okay. All right. I'll have a look at it.
Okay, and yeah, but Anmol, let's continue this conversation. I actually have to interview a couple of people right now.
No
So
problem.
okay, good talking to you, and congratulations on that 750.
Thank
And
you.
again, someone from my team will follow up. I hope you can provide a review for the e-GMAT course.
Sure.
All right, thank you,
Thanks a
Anmol.
lot, Rajat. Thanks for your time. See you.
See you. Bye bye.